Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We've got Hassan, who is a member of the APC and the National Field Director of the APC Youth Forum. Thank you for coming on this morning. Let's start off where we left off about this reinstatement, and now it's been ordered that he be disengaged immediately from the civil service. We're talking about Abdul-Rashid Maina. Well, I'm sure you know about the response from a lot of quarters about this kind of scenario where many think it's unthinkable. How could this have happened? But go ahead and tell us now, what's your impression of how this is unfolding?
Thank you for having me, Chamberlain. What happened is actually disturbing. No one is happy. You've already introduced me as a member of the APC and National Field Director of the All Progressive Youth Forum. But I would like to talk on as a civil, as a Nigerian and a concerned citizen.
Go ahead.
And to make things clear, please, I think the first speaker or the second speaker said the Interior Minister constituted a committee. No, he did not. The committee of senior staff of the civil service in every ministry has been there right from time. I don't know what it constitutes of because I'm not a civil servant, but I know it has been there. It's just like having an ESCO in a financial institute, private financial institute. That is one. Secondly, you see, I have in a very long time stopped to take sides on things like this. Why? Because if you take an example of the case of the Ministry of Petroleum, that's Ibeka Chukwu and Dr. Baru's case, the way it came out wasn't the way it finished. So I have learned to stay back and see how things happen and things and events that unfold after a breaking news like this. We actually didn't like it. No one will tell you, just as the senior advocate of Nigeria just spoke, no one will tell you someone has siphoned monies that belong to pensioners and anyone will support that. But I would like to also tell you, Chamberlain, which I know you know, Maina has had a judgment from a competent court of jurisdiction in 2013 by Justice, I think in the Federal High Court, by Justice Adamu Bello, now retired. He has had a judgment saying his disengagement should go back to status quo. This is the only judgment we still have. And I think maybe, I am not sure, but I think maybe this was what the Attorney General is actually acting on. I'm not saying he's right, and I'm not trying to defend anybody. I'm actually trying to tell you things we've heard yesterday night. We commend the President of his fast action on this, and if anybody is found wanting on this, should be severely dealt with. But I would also like to take you through on the little things I know of I've had on this case. You see, the National Assembly actually brought out a resolution for the Civil Service Commission in 2013, for the Civil Service Commission to query and I think disengage Maina. We followed this. Maina was quick to go to the court, I think for fundamental human right, which the court gave the judgment in his favor, saying things should go back to status quo. Nobody followed this. The National Assembly did not, the police did not, the EFCC did not. They all kept mute. Maina took off, whether jumping bail or running away from the country. Of course, yes, he did run. If I were him, I'll stay back if I know I'm innocent. He left the country just for us to hear that he is now back and reinstated in the civil service. It is very worrisome. And I tell you again, maybe the Attorney General of the Federation is acting based on that judgment of the 2013 Federal High Court. It is actually our institution's fault. One is, I'm not sure, but I think whatsoever is happening, Maina has been coming in and out of the country. He's been tripping in and out of the country. Who happens to be wanted? I don't know why we don't have synergy in our institutions, like the immigration, the customs, the DSS at the airport, borders, seaports. When someone is declared wanted, you put his pictures, everybody on duty is aware of that. This man comes in with his passport and goes out with his international passport. His picture's on it. Everybody knows this. And nobody is arresting him until such things happen. Of course, I am sure he didn't just plan all these things from Dubai. There would be a time maybe he came into the country and nobody knew. So it's actually worrisome, and whosoever is involved in this, the president, I am sure, absolutely sure, that he's going to take action on it.
You question the capacity of the anti-graft body, the EFCC, watching perhaps events unfold and unable to take that action. What would you say about the government at the time Maina was still in office and the government that is in place now? Is there a shift, call it a paradigm shift, in the priorities of the two governments?
Sorry, you're off a bit.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? You talked about the EFCC and why it was unable to act, knowing well that Maina was on its wanted list. But Maina, that was in 2013, and the government now has changed. Do you think there is a possible difference, a paradigm shift, for instance, that will address what Maina was then and the situations that prevailed at that time as to the present time with the governments in place?
You see, thank you, Gimba. You see, just as someone has just said, the EFCC is not it shouldn't be and is not a partisan institution. The Maina ran away in 2013 when the PDP was in government. They were actually looking for him. So he is still wanted, and the EFCC has come out to tell you that he's wanted. When he was reinstated a few days ago and the news came out, the president actually acted promptly, which is commendable, and he has stopped the reinstatement and also has asked for how he was reinstated.
Well, then why should the EFCC still have him on their wanted list when you talk about a court judgment in his favor?
What I've heard is the EFCC still want him when he has a judgment in his favor.
Yes, I'm asking you the question. I'm asking you the question that why should the EFCC still have him on their wanted list when, according to you, there is a judgment that favors Maina to be reinstated?
Okay, that judgment, his filing was actually on fundamental human rights. And the judgment was, I think, to free his fundamental human rights and go back to status quo and follow due process. Why? Because the government of the then day acted based on resolutions of the National Assembly, which the resolutions of